you be the most confident human being that you can be. Notice I said human being because, yes, you are a being and you're being here right now. You might be thinking, hang on, what's going on? Why are you broadcasting at 6? Well, I have a big meeting today and I have to drive to Wimbledon. I'm going to meet the Wombles of Wimbledon. I've got a meeting with Uncle Bulgaria about some personal development work that we're going to be doing with the Wombles. So I'm just looking at, here we are, there I am. I'm looking pretty good this morning. Let me just share this broadcast in a couple of different places. So if you're watching this at 7 o'clock, thank you. This is not live, but this is most definitely Pete Cohen. And we really appreciate that. Yesterday, I believe about 36 people shared this broadcast. And every time you share this information, we really, really do appreciate it because you just never know. You never know. Maybe you've heard this saying before that in life, if you positively affect the lives of just one person, it's a life that is well lived, which is one of the things we're going to be looking at today. So you just don't know. You might share this, it might appear on someone's feed, and then feed. Isn't that a strange expression, how these words all came about through social media, appearing on my feed? So if you put this out on your feed, you never know who might watch this, and it might make a significant difference to their life. Because if we look at the difference between us and every other animal on Earth, the difference that makes the difference is the decisions that human beings make. The decisions that animals make are very instinctive. And that's not that we are not instinctive. Many of you probably have an instinctive feeling that this is a good thing for you to watch, and that's why you're watching it. Many of you maybe have an instinctive feeling that this isn't for me. I don't need to hear this. You know what? Personal development, it's not for me. I don't need it. I'm perfectly fine just the way that I am. But I have not met a human being yet that does not need the help and assistance of someone else. In fact, I believe that every single person needs coaching. The role of a coach is to take you from where you are to where you want to be. And I know that the fact of the matter is, for 98% of people in the world, they don't know where they want to go. They kind of have goals and dreams and ambitions, but they're kind of up there in the ether. They're not concrete in terms of someone saying, look, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, and this is what's going to happen. And I've got the best laid plans to achieve that. Most people don't have that. Whereas most organizations, most companies, they have some goals and dreams and ambitions. Unfortunately, most of the people that work in companies, they don't get fired up about what a company is trying to do, because in most cases, all a company is trying to do is maximize shareholder value, not particularly interested in the people in organizations. Now, of course, that's a generalization, but there's a lot of truth in that. And when we're talking about truth in you, the truth in you is that you're not being who you're truly capable of being, and you're not as confident as you could be. And yesterday, we spoke about 4 of the biggest myths around confidence. And I want to reiterate that because it's so important. It's one of the most important things I might ever say to you in your whole life. And it applies to happiness, it applies to confidence. If you are not confident, it's not your fault. It's just that you're playing this game of life not as well as you could be. And that's what, for a lot of people, where fear and worry and doubt and anxiety sit. And we don't often do anything with that, especially if we're men. We tend to keep those emotions buried inside us. And the more we try and bury it under the ground, the more it actually starts to manifest, which is one of the things we're going to look at today. Confidence, obviously, is a word. And if you look at the root meaning of the word confidence, it comes from the Latin word confidere, which means trust. Trusting yourself. Now, my coach once said something very radical to me. He said, you should never trust anybody. And when I heard that, it really kind of almost offended me, because it went against what I was kind of looking for in the world. I wanted someone to trust me, and that's often what we look for in relationships. But what he really meant was this. Have you ever let yourself down in your life? Have you ever let yourself down? Have you ever had great intentions, to read a book, to start a course, to do something you said you were going to do. Great intentions. And this is what he said to me. Human beings have intentions all the time, but what they don't do is they don't follow through. So there's a part of their brain that just knows that there's no point trusting them. Human beings let themselves down. If they let themselves down, guess what? They're going to let you down. And I know that you have let yourself down so many times in your life, but it's okay. But it's what we're going to do about it. And that's what part of this week is all about, making you aware that it's not your fault, that you can achieve your goals, dreams, and ambitions, but there is a sacrifice for that. There is certain things that you would have to do, some blood, some sweat, some tears, maybe not some blood, but some sweat, maybe a few tears, maybe some tears of laughter, tears of joy, maybe some tears of sadness as you go on that journey to achieve whatever it is that you want. So make today a real significant day in your life where you really start to think about, well, what is it that you actually want? Is there anything in your life that is WIG, wildly important? G, goal, wildly important goal. Do you have anything in your life that is important to you? Because if you do, and you want to achieve that, guess what you're going to need? You're going to need some confidence. You're going to need to learn to back yourself and develop some trust in you. So we're going to look at something today is called ACT. But before we do that, let's look at those 4 myths again. Hugely important. Myth number 1. Happiness is a natural state. Happiness is not a natural state. Not at all. Our brains have developed, our minds over 100,000 years, and even before that, millions of years before that, of human beings coming into existence. And the brain that you have and I have has been hardwired to look out for danger. So it's much easier for look out to threats and risks than it is for us to be optimistic. Optimism, which comes from a Latin word, which means optimus, to be your best. We all want to be our best. But then we're fighting against the negativity inside our brain. So you have that and I have it. It is not a natural state. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. If you want to look at what's working and become more of an optimistic and become more of a confident person, it's something you're going to have to work at. If you don't work at it, it just isn't going to happen. You will be a victim, like so many other people, victim to all of the messages that you give yourself and messages that the world is giving you, telling you you're not good enough. You need to do things like buy things that you don't need to do, and you need to feel not quite good enough. That's kind of what the world is saying to us. So myth number 1, happiness is a natural state. What is myth number 2? If you're not happy, you're defective. If you're not confident, you are defective. Think about that. That's a myth. There's nothing defective about you apart from the fact that you're a human being and you don't live forever. We're all defective. But what most of us do with our defections, our imperfections, and our insecurities, we don't do anything about them. We just keep them inside, and we wonder why we feel the way that we feel. And one of the things we coach people is how to expand into the feelings which kind of hold us back in our life. Myth number 3 is getting rid of negative feelings. We should all be able to get rid of negative feelings or negative thoughts. You will never get rid of negative thoughts. You'll never get rid of them. It's what you do with them. This is the biggest challenge. So much of the personal development field, and believe you me, having written 18 best-selling books, I disagree with a lot of the stuff I used to say, that positive affirmations and be positive and all of this. You're never, ever, ever going to stop those negative thoughts from happening. In fact, do you know the origin of the word the devil? The devil. Diablos is where it comes from, a Latin word, which is meaning throwing obstacles in your way. In your life, have you ever wanted to achieve something and an obstacle has come your way? Has that ever happened? Has an obstacle ever come your way? You know what your biggest challenge is, like me, like everyone? Is the obstacles we put in our own way. And this is why this is a big part of what we do. For me, it's the duck inside. It's not the devil, it's the duck. You have a duck inside you that quacks away, that you've been listening to for most of your life, telling you that you can't do this and you can't do that. We need to learn to shut the duck up. We need to learn to look at what we say to ourselves. You will even Usain Bolt, the fastest man in the world, every single year would say to himself, I wonder whether I can still do this. Myth number 4, you should be able to control how you feel. Myth number 4, you should be able to control how you feel. That is a myth. You can influence how you feel, but you can't control it. Hugely important to get your head around this. And you might want to watch it a few more times to really understand that you have incredible power to do whatever it is that you need to do. You need to make some changes in your life, wake up and start to look at things a little bit differently. So let me just go back to my notes here today. So those were the myths. We looked at it yesterday, but so important, really important to talk about that today. And what I wanted to bring to light now is your story, right? Every single one of us has a story. Often we love to see stories, right? We love to watch films, read books with a happily ever after thing, which always seems to happen, right? But life isn't actually always like that, is it? Life is actually quite challenging. Life, when we think, oh, happily ever after, where is that? The happily ever after. Well, for most of us, we're either, and I was talking to someone about this yesterday, we're either in a crisis, moving towards a crisis, in a crisis, or coming through it on the other side. That life is actually pretty damn challenging. But what my advice to all of you is to think about is, what is the story that you're telling yourself? You have a story, which is what's happened to you. And how that story is affecting you today is something I find incredibly fascinating with human beings. But what I'm really interested in as a coach, because remember, a coach is all about taking you from where you are to where you want to be. It's just, what is the story that you're telling yourself today about your life? And what is the story that you want to create? As you go on this journey, and this is what coaching is about, to help you to get what you want, you are going to feel a whole array of emotion in your life. If you've ever achieved anything, a family, a business, something you've achieved in your life, something you've achieved, how many different emotions do you think that you went through? From happiness to excitement to fear to doubt to anxiety. And we spoke about this yesterday. If you want to be confident, what you need to do is do something that's called ACT, which is first in the letter A, is to accept the emotion that you feel, to accept it. And then C is to commit to whatever it is that you're working towards, and then take action. The emotions of fear and worry and doubt, they can be hugely powerful if you act on them. Act on them to move you in the direction of where you want to go. And I dare you, I double dare you, I triple dare you, I quadruple dare you to think about, what is the story that you want to create? Now, obviously, you often hear that story of the duck says, well, you know what, it's just too late, or I'm just too old, or I've tried it before and it hasn't worked. You are never, ever, ever going to stop yourself from having those thoughts. But just imagine for a moment, how many times in your life has that dialogue stopped you in your tracks? Now, just like you, I have a duck. I will always have a duck. But you know what? I'm in control of my duck. Or maybe not so much in control of it. I have some strategies that allow me to move forwards with my life. And this is why I believe there is so much suffering in the world today. The reason there is so much suffering in the world today is that people are suffering inside because they're not compelled to act. They're not compelled to move forwards. The only reason that you and I are alive today is because someone, somewhere in your ancestry, strove for something better. Human beings are made to grow, to learn, to adapt. It's biological. It's in us. You have that and I have that. And to dare, and that was often taken out of you when you went to school. For me, school was a complete waste of time. I know it's a wonderful experience for some people, but that's where I learned most of my imperfections, most of my insecurities, trying to fit into a model that just wasn't right for me at that time. So I ended up not liking learning, but I found my discovery of learning a little bit later, of how wonderful it is to decide to set a goal, learn, grow, and move towards it. And I think most of us are quite scared to actually put our hands up and say, you know what, this is what I want to do. Now, why am I telling you this? Because if you decide to set a goal, chances are you thought, that's a great idea. But then what happens is reality takes over for most of us, which is the realization that, oh my, this is actually going to be quite difficult. And then you fail and it doesn't work out and then you give up. Rather than learning to use that emotion to drive you forwards, get a coach and help you moving in the right direction. So I really hope this makes sense. Act. Today, if you feel some sort of negative emotion, just accept it. And you've got to work out what you're committed to doing and then take action that moves you in that direction. And it can often be just small little things. This is a way of diffusing. Diffusing is the key word. To diffuse, you'll never stop these thinking, but rather than being fused and connected to it, acting in accordance to let the connection move away. If you have a big enough goal, a big enough dream, a big enough ambition, nothing will stop you. Unfortunately, for so many of us, it's when really bad things happen where we get to see the really best of us. If you want to think about this, let me ask you a question. If you want to achieve your goals and your dreams and your ambitions, what do you need? What do you need? Is there anything you need in particular? Maybe you see, I don't know, maybe you need money. Would you need coaching? Yes or no? Show me some hearts. I know a lot of you are watching this on Facebook. How many of you, you think, yeah, you know what, I would like a coach, someone to help me every step of the way, someone who I could talk to, someone who would ask me effective questions. Yeah, coaching would help. As most of you know, coaching saved my life, also helped me make millions. I believe helped me save my wife's life. What else do you think you need? How many of you think you need some willpower? What's willpower? Willpower outpredicts IQ. You could be the most intelligent person on this planet, but without willpower, it's your ability to get yourself to do the things that you need to do, regardless of whether you feel like it or not. Do you know how many people are in the world today right now sitting there going, I don't feel like it? And because they don't feel like it, they don't act. Rather than identifying with what it is that you want to achieve, and you think, I don't care how I feel because this is something I want to do. How many of you know you need some willpower, you need some confidence, you need some mindfulness, you need to learn how to use your mind in more powerful and productive ways, to learn how to influence the stress and the worry and the fear. How many of you need to learn how to break some habits? How many of you need to learn how to become a leader in your own life? You see, you came into this earth as a baby and you were so small, you couldn't fend for yourself. So you had to have people look after you. And for most of us, we've had people looking after us for most of our lives. For you to take responsibility for your life means that you have actually got to do something about it. Not only are there thousands of people all over the world right now who say, I don't feel like it, most of those people are exactly the same, thinking, can you do this for me, please? Because I just can't be bothered. Rather than there's no greater achievement than you going out there and starting to go to work on changing your life. Why am I telling you these things that I believe that you need? This is what My 365 is all about, helping you graduate in all of these particular areas. This is the #1 coaching opportunity in the world. That's what we believe. We believe your future is unwritten and you have the power to change. You can join our coaching community. Tomorrow's broadcast, 7 a.m. Friday, 7 a.m. is free to you. And then next week, we go to work with our elite members. Just for £1 to get started, we'll send you this box with this in it. This is the university degree. I have 3 university degrees and I'd like to get all of my money back because I learned absolutely nothing that was of any use to me. And by the way, we'll also send you one of these as well. Once you learn to see your duck and tame your duck by first of all naming it. When you name your duck, you can get some distance between you and what you're saying to yourself. You are more than what you say to yourself. You are incredible. And the reason I say that is I know what human beings are capable of. You breathe the same air as all of the greatest people that have ever walked the face of this earth. The difference between you and them is most of them had compelling goals and dreams and ambitions. Behind every great man is a great woman. Most of these people, all the other way around, they had a coach. Stop trying to figure this all out on your own. Get yourself a coach, get yourself the right information, get yourself a community of like-minded people, and let's go to work on helping you be really what you can be. One of the greatest psychologists that ever lived, Mr. Abraham Maslow, said, what man can be, he must be. You must be what you're capable of becoming. This is what we call self-actualization, when people realize they're actualizing who they really are and their real potential. Most of us don't do that because of our conditioning of being told, don't do that, get a proper job, do this, do that, rather than do what you really feel compelled to do. And I'm not talking about addictions, which we can look at when we go to Habits 365, which most of us have. We're here to do one thing, to deliver the #1 coaching experience opportunity in the world. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. 2 things. If you haven't shared this, please share it. It's easy to do. And secondly, the last thing I'd like you to do is take a moment and think, what is my biggest learning from what I've just heard here? We will teach you how to be psychologically flexible and for you to bring your very best self to the party. Thank you for being here at 6 o'clock in the morning. I know a lot of people at 7 will be going, where is this? Where is this? They'll find it. They will find it. Thank you for being here. Have a great day. I will be in Wimbledon on Wimbledon Common tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. with the Wombles. And like I said, if you want to get your hands on this, this is an opportunity. Really, just don't miss out on something like this. Click the link that is in this post and go and see a little bit more about what My 365 Elite is all about. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 a.m. Have a great day.